Okay, so let's start with a quick introduction. My name is Viktor. Some of you probably know me, others who don't. Right now I'm a principal something in CodeFresh. That's what really matters. You can reach me on Twitter if you want to speak with me after this. I'm a member of a couple of groups like Google Developer Experts, Docker Captains, and what really matters for this webinar, Cloud Continuous Delivery Foundation, right? I have a podcast, go and listen to it. And what else? Let me think. Yes, I have some books. Buy them, and courses in Udemy. Buy them, expense them to your manager if you can. If you cannot, drop me in a message. I'll send you a free copy. What else? Let me think. Yes, I have a YouTube channel which you should watch because I release, since this is new thing, since recently I release something interesting every week. So that's the quick introduction. No need to go further. What really matters is that today we will be talking about how to do complete full life cycle of applications based on GitOps principles. Of course, for that, we will use some continuous delivery tools and quite a few other things. Yeah, now that I mentioned tools, actually, let me mention what we're going to use today. We are going to use Argo Cd. Argo Cd together with Flux is probably the leader in GitOps type of deployments, at least within Kubernetes clusters. And since I work for CodeFresh, it's probably obvious that we will use CodeFresh. And the ultimate goal is to develop or go through everything we might need to have a full continuous delivery pipeline. From beginning to the end, right? From creating the first pull request or committing the first batch of code until it is running in production. Now, the special part of all that is that such a pipeline needs to be based on GitOps principles. So it will not be just a pipeline that does things that everybody knows that it does. It will be based on GitOps principles. So what is GitOps? Very quickly, it is acknowledgement that everything is defined as code and that code is stored in Git, and that the code in Git defines the desired state that we want to have, and then that machines, some processes inside of our clusters are converging our desires, the things defined in Git, into the actual state, which is our clusters. Today it will be Kubernetes, but basically everything I'm showing you applies everything everywhere else. So the ultimate goal is to define from beginning to the end a pipeline that will do just that. Now, self-imposed restriction that I will have today is that I will not access my cluster in any formal way. And this is the important part, right? I will not change the state of my cluster from my terminal, and you will see a lot of my terminal today. I will not change the state of my cluster through CodeFresh in this case. I will not have anything in pipelines that will interact with my cluster in any formal way. The only thing that I'm allowed is to change definitions of something in Git and let the processes inside the cluster make sure that my desires, those definitions, are converged. So GitOps, everything defined as code, stored in Git, etc., etc. I will not bore you now with theory because the interesting part is really the hands-on part, the demo. What else before I start? Yeah, I mean, continuous delivery, but everybody knows what continuous delivery is, right? So I will keep it short. It is about automating everything, absolutely everything. You commit something, change to Git repo, and that's where your job ends as a human. Everything else is fully automated. That's impromptu, randomly chosen definition. Again, I will not bore you with philosophies and theory and all this stuff. Let's jump straight into the demo. Let's do that right away because that's really the fun part. So I have my, let me actually set up everything I need. I need a second. Okay, I'm ready. Now, what I need to do, yes, I need to show you my terminal screen. So this is my terminal screen. Let me remove the header Twitter stuffy. Okay, cool. This is my terminal. The only thing I did before this webinar, okay, those notifications shouldn't be popping up. The only thing I did before this webinar is that I created a cluster. I have an account and not much more in CodeFresh, and I installed Argo Cd inside of my cluster. That's the only thing I did. Everything else I will do right now in front of you. Later on, if you want details, how I did what I did, source code, anything you want, just contact me on Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever you want. And I will give you all the information, code, repositories, everything you need in case you want to replicate the same things. So let's start. Yeah, the only thing I have actually is a repository of an application, right? I have a few other repositories, but I will comment on them later. For now, I have this repository called previews, right? Because the first mission, the first thing that I need to do is I need to create a pull request for my application. And that pull request, needs to be reviewed. Somebody needs to review it. It needs to run tests and create binaries and create potential release and so on and so forth. But what is most important in today's context, at least within the GitOps deployments type of stuff, is that my pull request should be deployed to my cluster, and it should be temporary. I need it to be deployed simply because I need to run some tests, and maybe I need to manually evaluate it. There's a lot of things, lots of reasons why when I create a pull request, I need a temporary release running inside of my cluster. And I need to stress this, it needs to be temporary, because once I close the pull request or I merge it, I have no need for it anymore, right? So the first step, the first thing I want to show you is how to create temporary pull request releases. I'm going to call them previews. And remember, I have no access to the cluster. Actually, I do, but I will use it only to show you what's going on. But I'm not allowed to change the state of the cluster. My pipelines are not allowed to change state of the cluster. The only thing I or my pipelines can do, at least related to deployments, interact with Git repositories. So I have this repository that defines my preview environments, right? And I'm going to show you the file apps.yaml. So this is now Argo Cd definition. It defines an application, and that application, the only thing that really matters here, it references a Git repository. So I'm going to tell you, Argo Cd, look, monitor the repository, this one, which is the one where I am right now, and this directory in this repository helm, and whatever somebody puts in that directory inside that repository, that should be considered the desired state, and you should make sure that something is up and running inside of my cluster. And I have sync policy defined to automate it, meaning that I will let Argo Cd do all the work, right? There is no manual action for me to do. So let me kubectl apply -- file name apps.yaml, and that's now running inside of the cluster. I'm breaking my own rule. I said that I will not access the cluster in any formal way, but this is an exception. Normally, I would have a pipeline that would make sure that app of apps, that's how we call this entity in Argo Cd, is up and running and all this stuff, but I made it shorter right now. I broke my own rule, but I will not do it again. I will do it only once, but for a good reason. Anyway, so that's my repository that defines all the pull requests, or will be defining all the pull requests that will run in my cluster. Now let me go to this one, DevOps Toolkit. This is the repository of my application. And over here, I have this file. And this file defines how should preview version of this application, this specific application, how it should be deployed. And what it does is that, first of all, it references a Git repository. There is always a reference to Git repository, and says, you know what? This application is defined here, and it is inside. Where is it? Let me find it. It is inside. The definition is inside of Helm directory. I will assume for now there is no need to show you that this directory, this repository of this specific application already has everything that is needed for that application to run. Now, I will overwrite a couple of Helm values because I'm using Helm today, but it could be customized or what's or not. So I'm saying, hey, deploy this application in its default form, whatever is defined in that repository, and overwrite those few values, meaning that the repository where image is stored is this one, and the tag will be this. We will create that through pipeline soon, and it should be accessible through this specific domain, meaning that each application will have a specific unique, each preview of this application will have a specific address. And I want this application to create its own namespace. And you can see here that in destination, I'm saying, hey, create a namespace for the preview of this application as well. The server is the local Kubernetes cluster, meaning that whichever cluster picks up is monitored wherever Argo Cd is running, and that's about it. Okay, and the last thing I need, I'm almost done, right? Code fresh, PR open. So I'm going to show you a pipeline, continuous delivery pipeline that will do the whole process, right? Actually, not that will do the whole process. This is very specific to CodeFresh pipelines. This is the pipeline that will be triggered when pull requests are open. I will have different pipelines for other situations, but whenever somebody opens a pull request, Git will notify CodeFresh, and CodeFresh will run this pipeline. And this pipeline is relatively simple and straightforward. I mean, depends how you define simple. We will clone the repository. It will build, this is a Hugo application. It will build the binaries by running this script. It will build an image. This is a predefined step. I don't need to do much. I'm just telling CodeFresh, hey, build this image with this name, whatever that name is, and with this tag, which is the same thing as the commit hash. Then I will add some special information to the image so that I can track it easily. And then I will clone the repository that defines all my preview environments. I will take the preview file from before, here you go, replace a few values like the ID of the image and the tag of the image, and I will push the changes to the Git repository where previews are residing, right? This could be much shorter. I could accomplish the same thing with 1/4 of the lines because we have special plugins that do many of those things, but I'm intentionally making it raw so that you really see what's going on behind the scenes. And just remember, this can be much simpler than it is. It's already simple, but it could be much simpler. Anyway, it's going to push, it's using this git commit step that will push those changes to the preview environment. And remember, so the important thing about this pipeline is not interacting with Kubernetes in any form of way. This can be behind a firewall. It could be completely closed to anyone or anybody. It is not interacting with Kubernetes cluster. The only thing I'm doing is building an image. Let me backtrack a bit. I'm skipping the part of running tests and things that you normally do, simply because I want to make it shorter and focus on deployments. So with that in mind, the only thing I'm doing is pushing a change to Git repository, of a file that is slightly modified. That's basically it. And before that, I built container image, right? There are a few commenting steps that are not really important right now in this context. Okay, cool. So let me create this pipeline. As I said, I don't have anything, right? I'm doing everything from scratch. So I'm going to create this pipeline, codefresh create pipeline, -f, codefresh, what was the name? PR open, I think. Yes. So I created a pipeline, and now codefresh knows what I want to do when pull requests, when pull requests are created. That's actually the thing that I didn't comment. So let me comment very quickly, going back to the definition. Here is where I'm defining when should this pipeline run. Whenever a pull request is opened, when it's reopened, or when somebody pushes a change to that pull request. So everything is defined as code. I'm not really touching any UI. I'm really doubling down on everything as code over here. So I created a pipeline. Codefresh knows what I want to do when pull request is open. And now we're going to simulate the workflow of a developer. What is the first thing that you do after you finish working on a new feature, let's say, right? Actually, before you start working on a new feature, you create a new branch, right? So I'm going to check out new branch. I'm going to call it PR1. And then I'm going to simulate the time coding by modifying README, for example. Imagine that I'm coding, I'm spending some time, I'm going to modify the README. And imagine that after a few hours or maybe a day, I finished working on my feature. I tested it locally. I did whatever I do locally. And now comes the time to initiate the pipeline that will be executed when I create a pull request. So I'm going to add these files. I'm going to commit the change, -m something, and I'm going to push that change to the Git repo. Actually, that's the wrong command. So I'm going to copy this one. I'm going to push that to the newly created repository. I'm just interacting with Git. I'm not doing anything else. And I'm going to create a pull request. So I'm using GitHub CLI for that. You could go to GitHub user interface and do the same thing, but I'm a freak about terminals. So I will do that by executing PR create. Repo is, I have it in this variable, the organization, DevOps toolkit. The title doesn't matter, a silly change. And the body of the pull request is I'm too lazy to type. So I created a pull request, right? That's all I did as a developer or engineer or whatever I'm supposed to be at this moment. I'm going to store this pull request number in a variable just for later. Now let's take a look at Codefresh. What is happening, right? Codefresh get builds, and then pipeline name, I think, is the command DevOps toolkit PR open. So these are all the builds executed for this pipeline. Only one, because I just started. I created a pipeline right in front of you. So I'm going to say, get this ID of the build. Oh, that was wrong. I'm missing equals sign. Get the ID of the build, and I'm going to open it. I know that you get dizzy if you look at my terminal for too long, so I'm going to open it in browser just so that you see a bit of pretty colors. What's the address? gcodefresh io/build/build ID. And let me put this to my screen. Here we are. Here's my pipeline running, right? That's my pipeline running right now. And I will use this opportunity to show you actually what I just did in a slightly more graphical way, right? So I'm going to switch to my different camera right now, and I'm going to explain what I did. I have a Kubernetes cluster. This is K8S. And that, what's happening? Okay. And the only thing I have in my cluster is Argo Cd. Argo, right? And then this is me. I'm not allowed to access that cluster, not allowed. I have Codefresh, which in this case I'm using SaaS, but it could be some on-prem as well, self-hosted. It's a CI/CD and many other things. But Codefresh, I'm not also allowing it to access my cluster. Nobody can access my cluster, right? So what I did instead is that I have a repository of an application. This is my application. And I have a repository that I have definition of all the pull requests or preview environments, previews. So what I did is I created a pull request here, right? I created a PR with proposed changes. That triggered Codefresh. Codefresh built an image, built binaries, built container image, stored it in Docker Hub or wherever you're storing it. It cloned this repository, modified some files over there, and pushed those files to this repo. Argo Cd, on the other hand, is instructed to monitor this repository so that whenever I define something there, it will make sure that if this is my desire, if this is my desired state, that should be applied in a cluster. And by now, I hope that actually I can go back to my terminal and actually I can go back to the browser. And let's see whether it finished the pipeline. And it did. You see, my pipeline is finished. It executed. I can see the logs. Can I see the logs? Oh, there are no logs for this. Actually, what's going on here? Let me see. Because my resolution is too low. There we go. There are the logs. Anyways, it executed a pipeline, did not access the cluster, did not touch the cluster in any formal way. Argo Cd makes sure that everything else happened. And if I go back to Argo Cd, if I go to Argo Cd, I can prove that to you. Open HTTP, I have Argo Cd address stored in a variable. ADDR, I think is the variable. Here we go. I'm going to increase this admin. And you can see here, this happened right now in front of your eyes. This is the repository with all the preview environments, and it deployed DevOps Toolkit 1, because that's the first pull request. And if I go back here, you can hear that there are two hidden resources. One is the namespace, and the other one is the application itself. And you can see that the application consists of a service, deployment, ingress, endpoint, replica set, pods, blah, 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 a lot of stuff, right? I did not access cluster so far in any formal way. Let me actually, let me prove it to you. If I go, this is K9S. If you're not using this tool, it's awesome, you should. So let me show you the namespaces. And you can see here, this namespace was just created. That's a temporary namespace, 2 something minutes ago. And this is where my temporary application was created. You can see only pods here, but there is a deployment, there is a service, everything happening, me not doing anything and nobody accessing the cluster. Let me see, ingresses. Here is the ingress. I can, where is it? If I see the details, this is the Ingress Controller of my application. I'm going to copy this address and just prove to you that this application was deployed and is in a temporary environment and with a unique address. This is my application. It was just deployed completely based on Git and continuous delivery pipelines, which I repeat are not accessing the cluster in any formal way. Cool. Where was I? I forgot. Yeah, let's for good taste, let's create another pull request just for the sake of double checking whether the process works. So I'm going to say git checkout master, git checkout -b, new branch, creating new branch. I'm going to call that branch PR2. And what should I do? I'm going to simulate coding by creating a new file, something.txt. And in that file, I'm going to write something irrelevant. And I'm going to push that to Git. Git add, git commit, -m, and git push, wrong command, push. And I'm going to create a second pull request. Second pull request. I'm going to repeat the command from before. I have it somewhere. Here we go. Creating second pull request. Okay. Now let me store that PR number in a variable. I might need it before, later. What am I talking about? I'm losing my mind. And if I go back to CodeFresh, I can see in builds that it initialized yet another pipeline, right? Because I created a pull request. And what does this pipeline do? It builds a binary. Here, it cloned the code. It is building the binary of the application. It will take a few moments. This is a good time for questions. You have precisely 2 minutes, I think, to ask for questions. Actually, there are questions. The screen is cut on the left side. We do not see the first 3 letters of each line. Oh my. Okay. Let me see. I'm going to move this. Please let me know if you see the screen now, right? I moved my terminal. Maybe it's a bit smaller.
It was resolved.
It was resolved.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you answer questions without looking at follow-up questions or answers. Few more things while waiting for the pipeline. Interesting, I'm not having that issue. Okay. What's the tool name again? So if you're referring to this tool, this is K9S. And it just happened. Let me find this for you very quickly. I just released literally this morning a video that goes through K9S, assuming that that's the tool you're asking for. So let me paste. Here's the video. I just released it this morning about this tool. And I see that Brandon is answering. CI/CD tool is CodeFresh, and Argo Cd is Argo Cd is deploying whatever is defined in Git. It's in charge of deployments. And the tools are really integrating well together. We are doubling down on making sure that Argo Cd is well integrated with CodeFresh, contributing to the open source project, and the other way around. Okay, anyways, my pipeline is finished. And I can go back to my terminal and we can take a look at what's going on. Actually, let me go back here. Namespaces. You can see that new namespace was created. PR DevOps Toolkit 2. Inside of that namespace, there are pods and other Kubernetes resources. I'm watching Git pods right now, but there's the rest, right? Now, so we figured out what to do when pull requests are open. Let's move on and see what should we do when pull requests are closed. And for that, I'm going to go back to the master. I'm going to show you yet another file, codefresh PR close. And this is a very simple pipeline. I'm creating triggers that are saying that whenever this pipeline should be executed whenever pull request is closed. And pull requests coming from this repository. And I'm ignoring really pull requests that are not trying to propose changes to anything but the master branch. I'm cloning the repository, and this is the key part here. Remove preview. Basically, all I'm doing is removing the file that I created in the other pipeline. So other pipeline created a file that defines this preview environment, and this one is just removing it and then pushing that change that removes the file to Git. So pull request is opened, add the file that references the application with special parameters to Git. Pull request is closed. You want to remove the application. How do you remove the application? By removing the definition of the application from Git. That's what it does. There is not much more mystery to it than that. So I'm going to create the pipeline. Codefresh create pipeline -f codefresh PR close.yaml, creating the pipeline. By the way, I'm surprised that nothing fails so far. Demos, first half an hour of a demo always fails. I'm pleasantly surprised. So what am I gonna do? I'm going to open the pull request in browser. https://github.com. This is my GitHub organization, DevOps toolkit, pull, and I'm going to open pull PR, the last PR that I created. So here's the pull request. Let me make it bigger for you. By the way, if you look at file changed, yeah, that's actually not important. What matters is that you can see here that Codefresh executed a pipeline when pull request was opened, and it did everything it needs to do, including changing the Git repository. And now I'm going to close this pull request. As a result, this will initiate yet another pipeline. And if I go back to Codefresh, here it is. If I look at the pipelines, I should see a new pipeline. Here we are, right? It is the pipeline that it's simplest pipeline possible. And this might be interesting to comment, right? There are a couple of models you can work with CD or CI, even though I don't like the term CI. You can have one pipeline that defines all the permutations and all the conditions and all the different phases of the life cycle of application, or you can have a different pipeline associated with different types of events. And today, right now, without trying to discuss what is better, what is worse, I am taking the latter approach, meaning that I have a pipeline for different pipelines for different types of events. Before you saw a pipeline that is executed when pull request is open. Now I have a pipeline that is executed when pull request is closed. So it's almost finished. There we are. And come on, I'm impatient. 14, 15 seconds, that's too slow. Cool. Now let me go back to my terminal. Here, oh, I don't know if you managed to spot this. The pod, the whole application running in the namespace PR DevOps Toolkit 2 was just removed. For a split of a second, you could have seen the pod, and it was removed because there is no need to run the deployment associated with this pull request because I just closed the pull request. Okay, let me go back to. Let me go back. Where am I going back to? I don't know. Yes, this pull request let's say that I changed my mind, I made a mistake, I'm going to reopen pull request. You know what is going to happen, right? This will execute the same pipeline that was executed when the pull request is opened, because triggers are set to open, reopen, and synchronize. And as a result of that pipeline, it will push a change to the GitHub repository that defines all the preview environments, and Argo Cd will make sure that it's running. While waiting for this, let me actually show you. There was Paradox Argo Cd previews. This is actually this mythical repository. If I go to Helm templates, you can see here there is only one file, ignoring the namespace, that actually defines the first pull request. The second pull request is not here because the pipeline did not really finish executing just yet, but it will soon. And if I go back to CodeFresh, builds, let's see, two more steps, one more step. This is one of those moments that I feel very uncomfortable because I'm incapable of singing and dancing. Otherwise, that would be a good filler while waiting for stuff. Anyway, life is hard. What can you do? Okay, going back, look at the repository, the previews, the Helm directory templates. Here's the file. Let me refresh, actually. Here's the file. It was just created, right? It was removed when I closed the pull request. It was created when I open, synchronize, reopen, what's not. And you know what's going to happen next? Argo Cd, if you go back to applications, if you're fast, you see here it's progressing. You can see in this DevOps Toolkit 2, it is progressing. It is deploying it right now, right? Because it detected that change, because that change is associated with the application of the application's preview, and now it is healthy. And if I go back to the terminal, here you go. Pod was not there a few minutes ago, now there is. And I'm still not interacting with my Kubernetes cluster in any form of way. Whomever is a security freak, and you know, kind of when people say you cannot access the cluster and then you think that you're not going to be able to do anything, that's not true anymore. Anyway, let's do the last mile. The last thing we need to do from the context of deployment, let's say that we are happy with those pull requests and we want to deploy them to production. Okay. To do that, where am I now? Let me check. Okay, cool. To do that, I'm going to go one directory back. I'm going to go here just to show you. I have another repository. It could be monorepo. I could have everything in one repo, but I'm having separate today. Production repository. I have this apps file that defines my production. This is going to be application of application, grouped applications that constitute production environment. And all that I'm telling Argo Cd, you know what? This repository and this directory in that repository contains my production definition. Make sure that whatever is defined in that Git repository is running in production. And production in this context is production namespace and everything set, sync policy set to automated. Cool. So I'm going to deploy this application. As I said before, I'm not supposed to touch Kubernetes cluster, but I'm going to save you from yet another pipeline because I don't have enough time. So I'm going to do this manually. Kubectl apply file name. I'm missing dash here. Excellent. Now let's see what happens in Argo Cd. Okay, already. Let me move myself. Here is this one is production environment that I just created. And production application detected is referencing the repository Argo Cd production. And that repository happens to have defined applications DevOps Toolkit and DevOps Paradox. That repository already contained definitions of two applications. Argo Cd followed the links and figured it out. So I created only this application production, but this application is already having a few definitions in the repository it references. And now 2 additional applications are being deployed to production namespace. Here is DevOps Paradox and DevOps Toolkit. If I go to, let's say, DevOps Toolkit, I can see everything is almost running. The only thing missing is Ingress, and Ingress is running as well. Big success, as Borat would say. Cool. So my production is up and running. It's up and running with things defined before the pull request I created. Now, let's assume for a moment that when I merge a pull request to the master of certain application, that is a sign in my head that I did everything I need to do and that I want that application to be deployed to production. This is now continuous delivery in action, ladies and gentlemen. Anyways, let me go back to my terminal. Where am I now? Here. Let me go to back to the application itself. I'm going to check out the master branch. Master. I'm going to output production YAML. This is a template, only a template. This is what I will tell CodeFresh to use to redefine this application we're running in production. Just a template that has few tags. Basically, what it does is that it says, hey, this application is defined in this repository. This is a repository of the application. It has everything the application needs, but few variables should be overwritten. It should be a different tag. I'm going to provide the tag every time I make a release. And the host is this, whatever that host is. Cool. So last file I'm going to show you today, CodeFresh. This is getting boring, peer merge, right? This is the pipeline. And if you look at, where is it? If you look at the triggers, this is the pipeline that will be executed whenever a pull request is merged. It will clone the repository. It will build, actually, this will do nothing. This, I don't know why it's called build up. It will just create the environment variable. It will clone the repository. The repository, which one? Of the production environment, right? I already have a release. I have images. I have everything. I just need the repository of production. And then in that repository, I'm going to copy the file production YAML from the application repo. I'm going to change few values and store it in the local copy of the production repo. And I'm going to push those changes to a branch and create a pull request. Now, this is important. Right now, I'm not practicing continuous delivery. I do not want, in this context, to deploy directly to production. I want to create a pull request to the production environment that will allow somebody to review and say, yes, click that button. I do want it running in production. I'm going to create that pipeline, CodeFresh create pipeline -f CodeFresh PR merge. Creating the pipeline. Yeah, there is one thing that I forgot. Oh my, I'm silly sometimes. Code, Argo, no. I need the GitHub token that I forgot to create in advance. And I forgot what it is. Nobody can remember tokens, so. Source, I think I have it here. Now, the real challenge right now is that I don't want to show you the token. So I'm going to, I think it's stored. Okay, I will need to pull out my terminal just for a second. And so that you don't see my token. That's how untrustful I am. Okay, GH token. Now I know what it is. Okay, cool. Let me put the terminal back. Sorry for the delay. Echo gh token pb copy so that you don't see it. I'm going to go back to CodeFresh now. Where is CodeFresh here? My pipelines. This is the pipeline I automatically created. But what I didn't do in that pipeline didn't create a secret token. So I'm going to do that right now. The reason why I didn't do that, because I don't want to create tokens from files stored in Git. That would be horrible. And I'm going to encrypt it so that you don't see it. I will probably need to change the token after this session. Shame. Anyway, I did the token, GitHub token, so that pipeline knows how to create pull requests and do all the stuff. Cool. Okay, we're almost done. What else is missing? What else is missing? Let me remember. Yes. So if I go back to the application, yeah, I hope that I have it. Yes. So this is the pull request number 2, right, of the application. What am I going to do? I'm going to say, yes, I review the pull request. I want to remove it from the cluster, the temporary environment, and I want to merge this pull request, which will be a signal that I want to start the process of deploying it to production. And now you know what will happen, right? Your big boys and girls, this initiated yet another pipeline. Here's the pipeline, 2 pipelines. This might be confusing, but there is a good reason why 2 pipelines. One, this one, is executed when a pull request is merged. And the second one is executed when a pull request is closed, because merging a pull request is closing as well. So the second pipeline will remove the preview environment, the temporary deployment of the application, while the first one is going to modify my repository for production. And I'm going to go to that repo, to production. Where is my production repository? Here, previews. It's not previews, it's production, right? This is the repository, and soon there are no pull requests right now. So so you don't think that I'm trying to trick anybody. No pull requests. Pipeline is running. It's almost finished. And there we go. If I go back to production repository, there is a pull request. And what is in the pull request? Files changed, modified the definition of the application that defines production. And that application is Argo Cd application. It is all the files is getting from the repo of the application itself. Most of the changes are actually cosmetic, because the tool I'm using to change YAML file is reformatting YAML file, so you can ignore all those. The only change that really matters is that the tag was latest before, and now I want production, this application production, to use this specific tag. That's the only change that matters, really. And then if I go back to Argo Cd, if I take a look at actually, let me go to K9s just for a change. Namespaces, production, and 2 pods are running right now, Paradox and Toolkit. Now let's take a look at the toolkit definition. Where is it? Image, image, image. Right now, the pod is running the latest, right? It's an old version. The first initial version of this application in production ran latest tag. Now it should be something else soon. So we need to be patient. But I'm not patient, so I'm going to jump to Argo Cd and see what's going on. Production was synchronized 10 minutes ago. So Argo Cd did not yet initialize the synchronization. Oh, I'm stupid. I'm silly. I forgot to do the most important thing. I created a pull request because I wanted to give somebody a chance to review the changes I want to make to production and comment and make changes and whatever. For this to be deployed to production, I need to merge the pull request, merge the changes to the repository that defines production. And let's say that I'm a big shot manager, I'm the king of the hill, the person with godlike powers that is actually called to approve changes to production. I'm going to say, yes, I approve by merging the changes to the main line of the production repository. And now there is no pipeline that will be executed. I could execute a pipeline, maybe to run some tests in production, whatever. But in this case, it's only Argo Cd. And now, soon, Argo Cd will detect the change and it will synchronize it. So let's wait, be patient. And while we are patient, let me show you actually what's going on. Here, you know what's going on. I already explained you. Let's go back actually. Here, okay, succeeded a few seconds ago, right? Now Argo Cd did whatever it needs to do to comply to my new definition of production. And I can prove you that by going back to the production namespace in K9s, output the YAML, and let's see what is the tag right now. Here we go. It was latest a moment ago. Now it's new, right? Argo Cd did everything it needs to do. It made sure that our new definition of production is running, right? And there are a bunch of other things I can show you, but I'm conscious of the time and I would rather spend a bit of time answering your questions. So let me see whether anybody has any questions. That would be fun if you do. So going back to Slack. I'm looking at Udemy, only found one course by you. Is that the one you referred to earlier from Dev Moss? No, that's not. There should be 3 courses. Let me find that and paste it. Udemy. I don't know. I don't know where are my courses. Okay, actually even better. Here is the link to my books and courses in the chat. And the last 3 in that section are available both in Udemy and as books. So there are the links to 3 courses I published right now, so far. And I see that Amos posted the link to the K9s video. Yeah, that's from the blog. Any questions, anything, don't be shy. Please let me know if there is anything I can answer or discuss in the last few minutes. And while doing that, let's see whether is there anything else I can provide as information. CodeFresh, use it, try it out. CodeFresh provides free account for life, for unlimited builds. There are special enterprise features, dashboards, and quite a few other things important. But if you want to try it out indefinitely, it's free. So there is no real risk in not trying it out. So go to codefresh.io. Try it out. And this is my YouTube channel. Go there and watch it. Subscribe. And here are the books. So any other questions? You were chatty at the beginning and in the comments, and now nothing. Yes? No? I'm gonna count to 10. And if nobody types any question, be fast. We can close the webinar.
Okay, we have 7 minutes, or we could count down to 10. Oh, there's a question.
Where can we find those books? So in the link above, in the DevOps Toolkit series, let me put it on the screen again. Here, it's DevOpsToolkitSeries.com is the links to Amazon and Udemy and what's not. So you will find links to your favorite vendor over there. Actually, not your favorite, but it's on Amazon, on Limpub, and on Udemy. So DevOpsToolkitSeries.com. And by the way, the links in that site often give you discounts, so they're better than searching for them directly. From Kevin Ross, I'm curious about what Argo Cd does versus CodeFresh. They're both CD tools, I thought. So Kevin, they're not CVD tool, and this is something I'm very religious about. Argo Cd has the word CD, And in my head, what Argo Cd does is not Cd in any form of way. Argo Cd is deploying resources in Kubernetes cluster based on definitions in Git. CD, continuous delivery or continuous deployment, on the other hand, is a full life cycle of your application. You push some changes to Git, you need to build some binaries, you need to build container images, you need to run some static analysis, you need to run some unit tests, you need to deploy it here, you need to deploy it there, you need to run some other tests, and so on and so forth. So continuous delivery is a full life cycle of our application until it is ready to be delivered to production with a click of a button. Until it is production ready. Continuous deployment is without that button, it's automatically deploying to production. And continuous integration is something in the middle, but they all start at the same point, meaning that I made the change to Git repository, and there is a pipeline that that automates all the steps in the life cycle of an application. Argo Cd, I think it's very unfortunate that Argo Cd calls itself Cd because it's not really that. It is a way to deploy applications and other types of resources inside of Kubernetes based on GitOps principles. Deployment is not the same as continuous delivery. Continuous delivery is full life cycle of an application. Deployment is only a tiny fraction of it. So CodeFresh does CD or CI and pipelines. It does a lot of other things, but in the context of what I showed today, you can think of CodeFresh as continuous delivery, or some people call it CI/CD, which is a horrible name. Continuous delivery, full life cycle of your application. Argo Cd does deployments. Then Dav Moss, you mentioned Udemy. I only found one course. Are there others? Yes, if you go to, okay, let me share the screen again. You should see my screen, not that one. Here, let me see, where am I now? Yes, so if you go to DevOpsToolkitSeries.com, the link that I posted, here is one. Here is a link to Udemy. I don't know why it's messed up. You see my design skills are not really that good. Here's another one, link to Udemy. And here is the third one. The last three have Udemy. So it's, okay, it turns out that I'm logged in Udemy. So how are we going to do this? Let me post the links. Open in incognito view. Here's, now go back to Zoom. That's one. I'll try to be as fast as I can. In incognito view. Here is another one. And where is the third one? I don't know. I don't know what happened. You will find all of them in DevOpsToolkitSeries.com. Here. Dav Moss, I don't know if I'm butchering your name. Unclear where to start, Udemy course or your DevOps 2.6 toolkit. It's hard to say because all my books and courses are completely separate subjects. They're not kind of like Harry Potter book 1 to 3. I just don't know how to name them. So I'm not that creative. So I just call them 2.1, 2.2, and 3. So it really depends where you are. If you're not very experienced with Kubernetes, 2.3 is great. If you want to know more about monitoring, auto-scaling, and stuff like that, 2.5 is great. 2.6 and 2.4 are all about Jenkins and Jenkins X, but I'm not maintaining those anymore. Every once in a while, I contribute things to community, so they're not available as books and courses anymore. Canary deployments, if you're interested in Flagger and Canary deployments, progressive delivery, chaos engineering, and The latest one is the one I like the most. It's about many different tools. It's not only one thing. DevMos, assuming I want to set up a DevOps environment in Kubernetes, the easiest way, yeah, go for 2.3. Go for this one, sorry, because you really need to get the handle of how Kubernetes works. Dave, so Kubernetes is a base for almost everything, 2.3. And then depends on the subject. Some of the books I'm not maintaining anymore, 2.5. If you want to know more about monitoring, canary deployments is this one, and then Kubernetes chaos engineering and DevOps toolkit catalog. That's my favorite one. That's a never-ending story. I have like 20 different processes and tools so far over there. You will figure out how to do Terraform. You will figure and the right way, how to do CD, how to do many different things. You're not maintaining the Jenkins book because of Jenkins. I'm not maintaining Jenkins book because of conflict of interest. I don't work for directly with the company that sponsors Jenkins. I work for a competitor, Codefresh. So I thought it wouldn't be fair to either for me to be involved in Jenkins. Because I don't want to say bad things about it. I don't want to say good things either. It's better to conflict of interest, let's say. Any other questions, doubts, anything?
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Viktor, for joining us today. And that's a wrap.
You're welcome.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, CodeFresh.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye.